Experts warning that Russia could be prepping for a new assault later this winter in Ukraine. And Moscow's recent behavior concerning its nuclear weapons program isn't instilling confidence in U.S. officials. Joining us now with the details on this story, correspondent Alex Salvi from Rome.
Russia is refusing to comply with the last remaining nuclear arms control treaty with the United States. The State Department briefing lawmakers this week, saying Moscow is refusing to allow American inspectors into key nuclear facilities. It marks a breach of the New START treaty that was renewed for 5 years in 2021 and limits the two countries to 1,500 warheads each. That was prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And now, with little communication between Moscow and Washington, the fate of that deal is in jeopardy, with Kremlin officials putting the blame on the United States.
No matter how sad the situation is at the present time, some illusions must stay. We consider the continuation of this treaty very important. It is at least not viable, but hypothetically viable. Otherwise, we see that the United States has actually destroyed the legal framework.
It's crucial to acknowledge that Russia is the country that's been deviating from its obligations under the treaty. It's previously claimed that Western sanctions imposed against Moscow for its Ukraine invasion made it difficult for U.S. facilities to be inspected. The State Department calling those claims false, extending an invite to Russian delegations to execute their end of the agreement. The New START treaty does not apply to the use of tactical nuclear weapons, something Western allies fear that Russian President Vladimir Putin could deploy in Ukraine. And with Western allies increasing their support to Ukraine through tanks and missile defense systems, there are concerns that Putin could use that as justification to again escalate the war. John, Bianca, back to you.
All right, let's welcome in now for more on this Air Force Special Operations Commander and Defense Intelligence Technology Innovator, Major Glenn Ignazio, retired. Great to see you, Major.
Nice to see you again. Good morning.
Right. My understanding is that this treaty doesn't cover hypersonic missiles nor tactical nuclear weapons, if I'm not mistaken. But aside from that, Russia has never really been good about adhering to any treaty that we've signed with them regarding these weapons. What do you read into all this and the talk now about, a Russian missile destroyer right there off the coast of Ukraine perhaps coming soon, the use of hypersonic weapons, and the prospects of Putin using tactical nuclear weapons at this stage of the game?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, first of all, touch on the hypersonic weapons. I mean, the hypersonic weapons are weapons that are Mach 5 plus that can carry conventional warheads. And we're seeing some of that use already within Ukraine. And the idea is that they can evade the missile defense systems or the air defense systems that are being used. So some of those are being used in a conventional warhead. But as far as unconventional, where we're talking about a nuclear, the tactical nuclear weapons are small nuclear weapons to be used with smaller yields within a battlefield. Not like the big ballistic missiles that are launched from country to country that have massive, can wipe out large cities and so forth. So the tactical nuclear weapons are the ones that aren't part of this count. The one thing you have to remember is that even if you use a tactical nuclear weapon on the battlefield, you have triggered a nuclear war. It doesn't matter if it's tactical or a ballistic missile. So those are the things to watch for. Again, Russia has been the one that's been saber-rattling, saying they've been threatened nuclear weapons so far, not the United States. So that should tell you right there what their particular position is.
Yeah, and obviously that has been, the biggest fear is, that and what Putin is capable of doing. But we do know what we've seen very clearly on the battlefield, Major Ignazio, is the casualties of, hospitals. There was another apartment building that was shelled yesterday by a missile in eastern Ukraine. So obviously, with the announcement of tanks coming, we know that Russia has sort of ramped up some of these attacks. We saw them earlier in the winter on, the power grids, but it seems civilian targets are really what they're going after now. Give us your take on what's happening on the battleground, what we're seeing as the winter sort of, we look towards the spring.
Yes, as things are starting to thaw out, there's going to be a muddy period, but it seems to not really be hindering anything. So we've always believed, and both myself and my teammates also that are on the ground in Ukraine, believe that the offensive is definitely picking up, and that is something that they're going to do, and it's going to be a bloodbath, unfortunately. The reason for it is by using these missiles and striking the infrastructure, they're preparing the battlefield, which is something they should have done last year that they haven't done. And so there's great concern for that. The airstrikes hitting particular, apartment buildings and so forth, I have seen all year, and actually I have seen myself firsthand in Bucha and other parts of the country. Indiscriminate killing was something that bothered me because there were no military targets where I saw apartment buildings, homes that have been bombed. So I don't know if it's just indiscriminately or these weapons are so horrible that they're not even coming close to their targets. So the civilians are the ones that are really being damaged in this entire conflict.
Yeah, so much focus is paid to Vladimir Putin and all these officials, but not enough attention is paid to this. Like you talked about, these are civilian targets with no military targets nearby, and it continues. These are war crimes in the minds of a lot of folks. Major Glenn Ignazio, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
I completely agree. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.